So after the big 20th anniversary event that was Sonic Generations, where could Sonic really go next? At long last, things were finally looking good for our spiky blue friend. Sonic Unleashed had introduced a brand new playstyle which many deemed the definitive 3D Sonic playstyle, the Boost formula. This then carried over to Sonic Colors, which changed the direction of the franchise entirely, being the first critically acclaimed Sonic game since the Sonic Adventure series, with a simplified and more kid-friendly focus, a more accessible Sonic. This then carried over to Sonic Generations, which took that formula, combined it with the classic Sonic gameplay as well, and brought back fan-favourite levels from the 20-year history of the character. At long last, it appeared that the Sonic the Hedgehog game series had some sense of direction, and the future was looking very positive. So I guess the logical thing to do would be to take the now perfected modern Sonic gameplay from Sonic Generations and make a full game based around that like they did with Sonic Colors, but with a brand new adventure and a brand new story. Brand new levels, right? Well, that's not what happened. And thus Sonic Lost World was born. For starters, Sega struck a deal with Nintendo that the next 3 Sonic games would be exclusive to Nintendo consoles, their current console at that time being the ill-fated Wii U. I never owned a Wii U, but fortunately for me, a couple of years later, Sonic Lost World would release on the Steam Marketplace. And since then, I have played the game the whole way through. Sonic Lost World is kind of seen as the red-headed stepchild of the Boost-era Sonic games. For starters, it didn't sell very well, and was basically just kind of passed off by reviews as being pretty mediocre. The critical reception was eh. The fan reception was eh. But looking back, does Sonic Lost World really deserve that reputation? Well, that's what we're here to investigate. Much like Colors and Generations, Sonic Lost World has a very simple story that's a bit more kid-centric. The kiddie humor from Sonic Colors is back in full force, but I will say even if it doesn't work, it's pretty evident that they tried to do something a little bit interesting with this one. Following a brief battle with Dr. Eggman, Sonic and Tails arrive at the Lost Hex, which is inhabited by a race of Zeti that Dr. Eggman is trying to enslave. 6 highly sadistic creatures. You've got Satan himself, Old Guy, Wildcard, Fat Dude, Angst, and Girl. I'm not even really trying to be funny there, that's just all they really boil down to. I mean, fair enough, you're not really supposed to think about it very much, but it's just, I don't know, you can't help but think, aim higher, guys, you know? And I guess these Deadly Six, as they're referred to throughout the game, are basically the equivalent to the ancient god of destruction that Dr. Eggman is working with this time. They've just gone for a less mythical approach this time. But the twist is that Dr. Eggman pretty much has them under his control until Sonic is the one that unleashes their true power. His hasty nature causes him to attack Dr. Eggman, freeing the Zeti of his command, and that's where they realize that the Zeti are a much bigger threat than Dr. Eggman, causing Sonic and Eggman to team up. Which for some reason puts something of a strain on Sonic and Tails' relationship at one point. Tails just kind of starts to think that Sonic likes Eggman more than him, and he lashes out. Meanwhile, we learn that Eggman definitely has something of a moral backbone. This isn't the first time that Sonic and Eggman have teamed up to take on a common threat, but it is the most time that they've ever spent with this premise. Some of the dialogue in this is oddly dark as well. So the story is very much like Sonic Colors if Sonic Colors were trying to prove something. It really doesn't work, but as far as Sonic game storylines go, eh. There's a lot of just meandering around and them just talking. I think what defined Sonic stories was that they weren't wordy and that they were pretty action-focused. So when you've got this oddly wordy Sonic story that feels like it's trying to have twists and turns in it, and has characters describing violent acts that they want to do to each other, it doesn't really end up feeling like a Sonic story. It doesn't really end up feeling like anything, to be honest. It's simple enough to be inoffensive, and the cutscenes are quick and skippable enough for me to not really give a shit. Funny, we've only talked about the story and already we've got an eh. But at the same time, I'm pretty eh on Sonic stories altogether, so let's move on. So I've already mentioned that the story doesn't really feel like Sonic, but then there's the curious case of the gameplay. And Sonic games are usually variations of familiar concepts. Up until Sonic Unleashed, the gameplay was very much variants of the adventure-style gameplay, and then after Unleashed it was very much variants of the boost gameplay. But with Sonic Lost World, what we've got is something completely new made for this game. And it's not just Sonic that plays differently, but the levels as well, as Sonic Lost World takes some inspiration from Mario Galaxy, with its gravity-defying platforming. Now, I don't mind the idea of Sonic taking on this concept. After all, there's always been similarities between Sonic and Mario, and we're seeing Sonic's way of doing that concept. What I will say though is that gravity has always played a role in Sonic's gameplay. It is intrinsic to Sonic's signature momentum-based movement. Even in the boost gameplay, there was a sense of momentum and velocity to it. But with Sonic Lost World being a gravity-defying experience, that is nowhere to be found in this game, as slopes and hills and loop-de-loops have pretty much no impact on Sonic. So while the momentum is gone, it's been swapped out with parkour. Thanks to a run button, Sonic can now run up walls, cling to surfaces, so I guess that the parkour is a means of building Sonic's signature athleticism into the gameplay. Because of this, while you do have speed, it doesn't feel very natural. Again, this doesn't feel like a Sonic game. But does that necessarily make it bad? Well, I'll say this, Sonic having a run button is kind of a good thing, because it allows the player to have more control over Sonic during tricky platforming sections. This is a good thing. Those platforming sections that were hell in Sonic Colors because of Sonic's very slippery playstyle are made so much more doable by Sonic's speed only being accessed when holding the run button. I'll say this, I think it could be implemented better though. I would rather have a slow button than a run button, because speed is intrinsic to Sonic after all. Rather than having a run button, how about a brake? Sonic's moveset has also had something of an overhaul. The double jump is back from Sonic Colors, but now the homing attack can home onto multiple targets at once, meaning that there's less player input, there's less you gotta do. Well, that's underwhelming. I mean, it is timing based, like the longer you spend in the air, the more your homing attack is charged up, meaning that you can aim at more targets, but The spin dash is back, which is great, but it never runs out of momentum if you just hold it down, meaning that I don't know, it feels a little bit overpowered. The bounce from Sonic Adventure 2 also makes a welcome return. There are some enemies that can't be tackled by a homing attack. Sonic can now do an aerial kick, which can stun enemies before homing attacking them, which kinda remedies the lack of player input on the homing attack. But do you want like more player input or less? And also there's no visual thing that tells you that one badnik needs kicking before homing attack. You pretty much have to guess. This is probably one of the most complex versions of Sonic yet, and from what I understand, this didn't complement the Wii U's control schemes at all. Well, I played it with a keyboard on my PC, and I didn't mind. It's nice to have all these different skills and abilities, and it's especially nice when those skills and abilities allow you to access a new area of the level. These levels are full of different paths, which reward the player for thinking outside the box. This is everything that Sonic level design should be. I just really wish that the slopes had some impact on Sonic's momentum. There are also areas that you can only reach by using the parkour techniques such as wall running. I'm gonna say this, I have completed the game and revisited it a few times, and I still don't know whether or not I've gotten to grips with the parkour gameplay or not yet. I generally avoid these paths where possible, simply because too often the parkour just doesn't work. And the times where I have managed to get it to work, it doesn't feel like it was actually me that did it. It feels like a fluke. While parkouring and running on walls, that's where you need to find ways to sustain your momentum. This can be done by leaping from wall to wall if there is one adjacent, but sometimes there's not, and I really am just confused as to what to do there. Also, for some reason, the wisps make a return. And it's just kind of like, there's already enough different ways of playing this game. You really don't need to introduce the wisps now as well. They're not essential, they have no bearing on the story, they don't affect your score to my knowledge. If they do, I don't care because you don't get ranked in this game. But the thing with the parkour, and the thing with the wisps, is there are red rings in this game, which are essential for unlocking Super Sonic. And Super Sonic in this game is great, because he's just like regular Sonic, except he has a boost. And that boost gives him a certain sense of momentum. This is the closest it gets to feeling like a Sonic game. What I will say is Sonic Lost World does a good job of keeping things fresh from level to level, as different levels come with different gimmicks and puzzles. There's a bit too much of this, and some are definitely better than others, but it still keeps things fresh. I would rather have these puzzles scattered around proper Sonic levels than have levels built entirely around these puzzles. But I think that's how they get some longevity out of this one, and to be fair, Sonic Lost World is a little bit meatier in terms of longevity than Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations. But like those games, the 2D sections also return. And frankly, they are a complete waste of valuable playtime real estate. This gameplay style in 2D is just pointless. This gameplay style doesn't feel like Sonic, but when you stick it in 2D, that's when you really realize, god damn it, this really doesn't feel like Sonic. Exploration and platforming are the best things about Sonic Lost World, and in 2D, that is reduced by a whole dimension. I don't understand the appeal of constantly throwing modern Sonic into 2D spaces, and I especially don't understand it here. In terms of the presentation as well, Sonic Lost World definitely takes on a different art style. While Sonic games have always been quite cartoonish, they've also been pretty textured. The environments are usually pretty detailed for what they are, and Dr. Eggman's contraptions usually look pretty functional. So, what the fuck happened here? They've gone full-on cartoony this time around, and it's not a bad art style, but these Sonic character models don't fit in here. Heck, I think even classic Sonic would look a bit out of place in these environments. For this game, you'd need a Sonic with like giant eyes or something. Musically speaking, they've definitely gone away from the rock route, and for something more contemporary, and well, as always, the music in this game is great, but there's no vocal theme this time around, and that's been kind of a staple of the Sonic the Hedgehog series since the late 90s. So, in conclusion, I can really see why this is treated as the red-headed stepchild of Sonic games. But at the same time, I would be hard-pressed to call this a bad game. Like, with the exception of the parkour mechanics needing a good tweak, and it not feeling like a Sonic game, it's all intuitive. I had a lot of fun with this. This is a good gameplay style, even if it's not ideal for Sonic himself. The level design is really great. There's a lot of good ideas here, and I like the fact that this game does understand that first and foremost, Sonic is a platformer, and speed is a part of that. Honestly, if you haven't played this game, I recommend trying it out for yourself. As a Sonic game, it's a strange one, but it is still a good quality product, with lots to explore. I mean, honestly, I would say I prefer this one to Sonic Colors and Sonic Forces. It's got a better balance of 3D to 2D than Sonic Colors does, and the platforming feels less arbitrary. And then just fuck Sonic Forces. So, yeah, I guess I recommend it. Why not, you know? Sonic Lost World. Why not? Well, now I hand it over to you, fellow home dogs. What do you guys think? And if you did enjoy this video, might I ask you a favor? Please hit subscribe and that notification bell as your way of telling YouTube keep it coming. Likes are also highly appreciated. Now, I'm always trying to make my content better and more consistent, but this does come at a financial cost, and ad revenue isn't always going to cover putting a roof over my head and covering the subscription fees for the software I use to make these videos. So if you really enjoy this content and you feel like lending me a hand by any chance, I would be so grateful if you would consider joining my Patreon, which will also give you access to the Channel Pup official Discord server. I also have a written blog called Dr. Blogtopus over on channelpup.net. That is where I put my more critical and analytical stuff. And in the description below are links to different social media platforms where you're more than welcome to come and interact with me. So that's it for today, fellow home dogs. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on another video.